I'm just intrigued. Is there any actual like formalized training along the way? Because I've only had some brief insights this last year, and every politician essentially has their own small team of staff, so they're seen as a small team leadership role through to ministers have their growing staff, and then as you go up and up and up, that team gets bigger. So there's a lot of that on the job training, which can only sort of get from within the politics itself. But there's also this sort of leadership role and this management role. I'm sort of intrigued to see, you've obviously learned a lot of that along the way, and you speak a lot to that very eloquently and very in depth. And I've listened to a lot of that at the moment. I'm just sort of intrigued as to, is that all just through your own lived experience, or did you do professional leadership study along the way? Did the party develop you in that way?
There is surprisingly little formal training, actually
I keep
far too
hearing.
little. Yeah, yeah. Look, I can't hand on heart say it's still definitely like this, because there may have been some things introduced since I've left the Parliament that I'm not aware of. But
Just for you leading up to being Prime Minister, yeah.
yeah, surprisingly little. No, the party did. I mean, the party did media training and things like that to help you. So as a candidate and then as a new backbencher, there are training things that are done. So the party did some candidate training, some media training, but that was really about you as a politician and how you interacted with the world and your community. The Parliament had a sort of new members training course that we all went on in mixed groups. So they would put the political parties together and you'd go on the training courses together, which was good, I think, to build at least some understanding across the Parliament. So that happened, but no ongoing access to training, no real training about what it means to be an administrator, a manager, a leader of a team. That you just learned organically or you didn't. And unfortunately, I think politics shows many people don't learn it on the job or don't learn it well enough and make hideous errors as a result.
I find it so fascinating from a personal side of the house, because when I first joined the military 2003, I spent the first 4 years just down the road, 3 years at the Australian Defence Force Academy and then 1 year at the Royal Military College. So I had to undertake 4 years worth of professional officer training, which included so much leadership and management or authority responsibility training before we were even allowed to have our first group, our first platoon. And while I absolutely love the way in which Parliament is designed to represent all Australians, I would love to go in there tomorrow I finished the last year of my career running the Special Forces Selection Course for Commandos. And you can imagine I had an amazing team that included so many fantastic contractors, some of which currently work with the Australian Institute of Sport and supported the athletes going over for the Olympics. And just to be able to go in there and actually better support some of the current and future generations of politicians with some of this stuff it's hard. I love that you said you got the media training, because it seems like that's what a lot of the primary focus is, but it's literally hard to be able to do all of this specialist skill set you're required to do. And then also, you have your team and you're within an environment where, from what I can understand, it's not exactly always the best team environment. There are individual ambitions in there. And my ignorance going into this place thinking, a party of 60 sitting members, they're all getting together and having discussions sometimes, but that's not always the case. Yeah.
No, so sometimes it's like that and sometimes it's not. And I mean, you would have had this experience doing commando selection. There's a lot of times that you end up having to, break people's hearts. You would have had to have said to, young people who were absolutely desperate to be selected that, I'm sorry, but you haven't made the grade. And the more senior you get in politics, actually, the more of that hard stuff you do. As Prime Minister, one of the things you do is you assemble the ministerial team, and more people want to be ministers than are going to end up getting an opportunity. And so you end up disappointing people. The problems that come to you that end up on your desk are the too hard basket. No one comes in with, Prime Minister, here's a blindingly easy decision. Why don't you make this one? If it's blindingly easy, then someone else has made it 10 steps before it ever got anywhere near the Prime Minister. The only ones that actually get in the door are the ones that are really hard and where you'll be, creating happiness for some because they're pleased with the decision, but probably going to be disappointing others. And you're not given any training in managing that either. That's all organically done, whereas I guess you were prepared for all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Came through quite the professional system, and that's where I really do actually sympathise with